Hi, I'm Opal Mitchell. I work for the Central Arkansas Library System and I work at the Nixon branch in Jacksonville. And this is the Crafting with Opal program that I do on Thursday nights at 7. We took a break from doing these in December, so this is the first one for the new year. And tonight I'm going to be teaching you how to sew just a basic headband. And I'm going to be using some flannel fabric for this, but you can use cotton material too, or you could probably do fleece also, but that might be a little too thick for this project. But that's what I'm going to be showing you how to make tonight. Next week I will be showing you how to make some very easy basic winter mittens. And with that one, if you're interested in doing that one, I'll have the sign-up sheet available starting tomorrow. And that one, since it's mittens, it's for your hands, there's different sizes for the pattern for that one. So you'll have to let me know what size. Actually, I can send the link so you can pick out what size you want. But tonight it's going to be a headband. And let's see, I guess I'll show you. I've got it on a little dummy here so you can kind of see. It's also made where it will go thinner, or you can open it up wider so it covers up more of your head too. Let's see, I'm trying to pull it apart so you can kind of see that. Well, it's kind of difficult. But see, you can also make it a little bit, it's made where it can come apart and be a little bit bigger and cover more of your head. But that's what we're going to be doing tonight. So, I'm going to go ahead and switch the camera over to my table. Oops. And I've got my fabric ready, and let's see, this is one to tip over. Let's rearrange this just a little bit, and I'll just have to move this whole thing over. It wants to fall forward. I need to adjust that better. Okay, now it's not trying to tip over as much. I'm going to do this kind of at an angle. The ruler I have here is a one that measures out to about 24 inches. The piece of fabric you're going to be cutting out for this headband needs to measure 6 by 20, and my 20 mark is way up here that you can't see because I can't really, I guess I could back away a little bit so maybe you could see this a little bit better. There we go. So I'm going to be cutting this fabric. Oops. Oh, I thought I found a pin on the floor, but it ended up being a piece of plastic. Okay, I was worried because I have one of my dogs in here. I don't want her to get a pin. I thought, well, I haven't been doing anything with pins. You're also going to need a 3-inch piece of elastic. I went ahead and cut mine already. The pattern that I'm following recommends a 1/2 inch wide. This one is actually 3/4 of an inch wide. It's a little bit wider than what they recommend, but it worked just fine for me. So if you don't have a 1/2 inch wide elastic, then the 3/4 inch works just fine. And you only need 3 inches for this project. So since I have a rotary cutter, I'm just going to cut my piece out to be 20 inches by 6. This is 6 inches across, so all I have to do is just cut it down here, and it's a little longer than 20 inches, my piece of fabric, so I'm just cutting it all the way down, and I'm going to cut it on both sides. And in order for y'all to see what I'm doing, I am going to turn the piece of fabric around because it's awkward for me to cut from the other side. And I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. So I'm just lining that back up with my fabric. And just cutting all the way down. Pushed a little too hard, so it came loose there. Alright, so now I've got a piece that's a little more than 20 inches wide, long, and it's 6 inches wide. So now I need to just cut the ends off because to make it a little bit shorter, so it will be 20 inches long. So I'm just going to line this up. You're not going to be able to see everything I'm doing, but all I'm doing is cutting off a little bit on each end to make it 20 inches long. Next one end. And like I said at the beginning of the program, if you don't have flannel, I just picked flannel because it's winter time, and I thought you don't ever see headbands made out of flannel, so it might be a little bit warmer and a little bit nicer to have this time of the year. So I've got that cut out now. It's straight. I straightened it out. Keep your little excess pieces that you cut off because you may need to use them on your sewing machine to set the tension to make sure that it's going to sew correctly. And also, whoa, there went almost my entire camera. Wow, okay, let's tighten that up. Can't believe it came that loose. Alright, luckily it didn't fall to the floor. And I'm going to be straightening this up anyway a little bit. And, oh, I see what's got loose. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to move this camera over to where my sewing machine is located. See all my painting supplies there. And I'm taking my piece of fabric and moving it over here. One other thing for this project is, since we're not going to be doing a folding the edges over like so and sewing it down so it won't fray, we're not doing that with this project because the other end, when we're folding it to connect to the elastic, it would be way too bulky if we folded in each edge. So what we're going to do is we're going to sew this edge so it won't fray and come apart. Let me show you the one I made earlier. The type of sewing we're going to be doing, it's going to have little pieces that are going to stick out a little bit, but it's not going to come completely apart. If you don't have a serger, I'm going to be doing a stitch that's similar to what you would do on a serger to keep the fabric from just completely falling apart on you. The stitch pattern that I set on my machine is up here, and it's a 17 on my machine, and I have to change my stitch selector to the orange one on my machine, and that's this right here. So I turned it all the way to the SS1, and then on my dial where my 17 is located, I turned that dial also to line up with that, and that's how I'm going to get this stitch right here that says 17. And it's, like I said, it's kind of similar. It's not really exactly like a serger, but it will help keep the fabric from fraying. If you don't have that stitch pattern on your machine, you could use just a zigzag stitch, and that's what the person who did this project recommended. I like the other one because it was a little more similar to a serger, the stitches that you'd get on the serger. So I'm going to lower this some more so you can see my machine. I also adjusted the this up here too for how wide I want my stitch to be, and I actually set it to the widest setting on it, my machine. Alright, so let me go ahead and get my fabric positioned, and I'm doing the long edge. I'm not sewing the short edge. I'm sewing the long edge. And I'm using white thread on mine. One thing that since the fabric is not folded, when we start out sewing, your fabric is going to want to get stuck inside of the plate here under where the feed dogs are located. So I'm going to sew a little bit, and then I'm going to grab these threads and help pull it through so it won't get stuck in the feed dogs. And when you're lining this up, you want the edge of your fabric to be lined up with the very, very edge of, I'm trying to see if y'all can see that. Let's see, maybe raise this up just a tiny bit and then lean it forward. Let's try that. Trying to get a good angle on this so you can see. But we're going to be putting the fabric where it's just there on the edge of where the hole on the right hand side of the sewing foot. So you want it to be just right there, because you want the little zigzag stitch to hit just on this side of the fabric. You want it just as close to the edge as possible when you're doing this. And this is gonna help with your fabric not fraying and coming apart whenever you're wearing the project. Alright, so I'm grabbing these pieces of thread right here, and I'm going to pull on it as it's sewing, because it will tend to want to get stuck down in the feed dogs if I don't, because it's so close to the edge there. See what I'm meaning here? Once we get it started, it'll do better. I think I set my stitches too wide. I didn't do it that wide last time on my last one, and it didn't seem to have as much trouble. I'm going to change it to a 4 because that's having issues with bunching up on me. Come on. I'm looking to see how it's still pulling through okay. You probably wouldn't have as much problems if you didn't use the, yeah, there we go. I think I had it too far over. You do want the needle to go through the edge of the fabric. Trying to see if y'all can see what's going on. Okay, I think so. Oops. Okay. Yeah, you definitely want to. It's going to be kind of tricky if you have trouble lining things up. Let's see, I wonder if my comments are working on here in case anyone wants to make a comment. So I'm going to say hi real quick just to make sure that it might be working. Okay. And we're just going to go down the edge of each side of this fabric. Of course, if you have a serger, that's what you would rather use, is serging the edge instead of doing this. This is in place of serging it. Trying to make sure that it's doing an okay job. Yeah, you just don't want it to get caught down in the feed dog. And you're not pushing your fabric through, you're letting the machine pull it through for you. Because if you push it in there, it's definitely going to get jammed. Uh-oh. I think I wasn't paying any attention to what I was doing. Let's see. Did it get tangled? Yep, it went down in there. Alrighty. So I'm going to start this a little further back and kind of go over that again. Since I pulled it loose like that. Make sure that looks alright. Because the thread might be a little... Yeah. It's okay. Checking on my progress here. Oh, well, I haven't been sewing, so apparently I ran out of bobbin thread at some point. Or did I? Huh. It just wasn't... What in the world is going on? Well, yep, I ran out of bobbin thread. Sure enough. Okay. I should have checked on that before we got started. Come on. Okay, let's see. Oh, and of course, I don't have any bobbin thread, so I'm gonna have to wind a bobbin. Let me think here. I really don't want to do that during this, so I'm just going to use some black bobbin thread because this is not going to show a whole lot anyway, so, well, it will, but my particular project has black in the fabric, so it'll look okay. I don't want to have to spend time winding a bobbin during this program, so we'll just have white thread on top and black thread on bottom. And it will be okay. And I'm just going to go back to where I ran out. And if you ever run out of bobbin thread, you always want to start back a little in front of where you ran out of thread, because you want to sew over that to hold it in place. Okay, so seeing how that's working. So it's going to be on top where, and this is, the white's going to be on the bottom, since that's the direction that I have my fabric. Yep, I'm getting close to the end. Okay, and the reason why I'm not backing up on this one to reinforce the stitches at the end is because this fabric's going to get folded on the end, so it's not going to matter. So now I'm going to go and kind of, mine's going to look a little funny since I switched threads on it. And I should have reinforced back here when I switched to, because where it stopped it'll be fine, but where I started I think it'll be okay, but that's what's gonna, And you can kind of see what that type of stitch that I did, what it looks like. It's not quite really like a serge, but serger stitch, but it's kind of close to it anyway. It'll do the job as far as keeping it from fraying on the edge. And so now I'm going to go down the other long edge, and I will be grabbing a hold of these and pulling them, because at the very beginning it will try to come loose and get stuck in the feed dogs. So I'm just pulling on that and making sure that the fabric pulls forward until it gets started good, and then I can just let it go. Keep this straight. Occasionally stopping to make sure everything looks okay. Okay, now we're to the end, and we're going to switch our stitches up, because we don't want to have that stitch for whenever we're stitching the elastic to it. So I'm going to come back over here and switch this back. This is my normal stitch lengths, so I'm going to be sewing over some fabric that's pretty thick. So you want to keep it between a 3 and a 4. I'm going to switch it to 4. My straight stitch is a number 2, so I'll have to turn this dial to the 2 to have it lined up with that. So it's going to be a longer stitch, and I want a straight stitch for 2, so that's what we're doing there. And for this part, I'm coming over here so you can see how I'm going to fold the fabric before I sew this to it. Let's see here. Nope, I need to get rid of the excess threads that are on here. Alrighty, with this part, when they were describing how to do it, they wanted you to fold the fabric. If you've gotten cotton fabric and this particular thing will work for you, it didn't work for me because flannel doesn't really, when you fold it in half, it won't make a, let me show you. They were having you fold it in half and making like a line in the fabric where there's a fold where you can see this fold. This won't really make, your fold won't be real visible on this fabric. It just won't hold it. Because what we're wanting to do is we're wanting to fold each in to the center of your fabric. And that's how they were telling you to do it, so you wouldn't have any problems with that. like I said, it doesn't work well for flannel. So what I did is I took a water-soluble pen and I held my measuring. I measured it to see what the center was. It's a 6 inches, so 3 inches is in the middle. So I just put a little dot in the middle so we'll know where the middle is on this side. And then I did that on this side also. I put it right over the edge where it was lined up with each edge, and then I just put a dot where the 3-inch mark is. So I'll know that's dead center on each end of my fabric. So that's what we're going to be doing, and I'm going to get... Isn't that fun? Okay. I'm going to pick up a few things off the floor first, just to make sure that my dogs don't play with those that I just scattered everywhere. Alrighty. Tonight's been fun. Let's see how many mistakes I can make. Okay. The reason I got these out is because I'm going to use them. I only needed 2 of them, but I just dumped the entire box out. And some of them went under my table, but I'll get those later because my dogs can't get under my table. There's too many things blocking it. Okay. So I just needed 2 of them, because what I was going to do is on each end of the fabric, I'm going to turn this down a little bit more so you can kind of see what I'm doing a little bit better. So I'm going to fold, this is the ends. I'm going to get rid of that little stray piece there. I'm going to, I keep bumping this with my actual, let me put this up against the table so it won't move anymore. You want to fold this inwards to where your little dot is. And then you're going to turn your other one where it's just overlapping, just like so, where both of the sides are overlapping just a tiny bit. Okay, once you get that, you want to fold it forward about, I mean, no more than a 1/2 inch, but try to get it as close to a 1/4 of an inch as possible when you fold it forward. Once you've got that, you're going to lay your piece of elastic over, like so, and then you're going to fold one side over, and then your other side over. And I have a little stray piece there. I'm going to clip that into place to hold it. Come on. There we go. I need to cut that little piece that's sticking out. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to sew this in place by going over this. It might be a little bit easier to see it on this side, but you're just going to go over that in the sewing machine, and then we're going to turn around and do the same thing on the other end once we get it done. So I guess I really don't need the clip right now, but so that's what we're going to do. I'm going to sew that one, and then I'm going to switch over and sew the other side. So I'm going to hold on to this as I come over here and try to tip the camera back up again. And this is really bulky, so you may have difficulty getting it underneath your sewing foot. What you're going to have to do is your lever that you normally use to make your foot go up and down, you're going to have to lift up on it more to get it under there. So I've got it under there, and you want to have it not really close to the edge, but kind of, oh, I noticed something else I haven't adjusted that I wanted to adjust before I got started. I want to move my needle all the way to this side, so that way I know that I'm getting it closer to the edge there. Alright, so you got to make sure that you're putting the lever all the way down, because a really easy mistake at this point is because it's already up and you're just pulling it up more, you think, oh, it's the sewing foot is down all the way. Not until you pull the lever all the way down, and I don't know if you can see that, but you can. On mine, it has to be all the way in that down position, not up here, because I was pulling it all the way up here to get it to come up, and then I let it down and you think it's down, but it's not. It has to be down here, so to get your attention and everything. So I'm going to start with the needle in the fabric, and I'm going to pull that straight. There we go. And I'm going to sew forward just a little bit, and it might, if you notice it not moving forward because it's so thick, you might actually have to lift the foot and move it forward just a tiny bit, because getting it started sometimes is hard because it's so thick. And you might even have to manually walk it forward. Yeah, there we go. But I need to go back to reinforce, so I'm backing up. Okay, and then I'm trying to go forward again, and it's not wanting to move, so I'm going to lift up the foot and nudge it forward. Okay. Alright, so now it's gotten past the really, really tight spot, so it can go forward. I'm afraid I'm going to go off my fabric, so I'm going to actually manually do that, and then I'm going to back up. Alright, so there's that side. You'll have to lift the foot up again to get it out. And then we'll go over here and cut off. Okay, I'll do it from this side since I can't get to it very well because of the camera. You just want to make sure that the elastic is on there good. So that's that in. Alright, so now we come to the other end. You're going to do the same thing. You notice last time I folded on with this side. Well, I'm going to fold with this side first because it's at the opposite end of the other one. I want the fold to be the same. So I'm folding it to where my little blue dot is on this end. There's my little blue dot. So I'm folding it where it just covers the little blue dot. And then I'm taking my other side and just barely overlapping it there. And then you're going to just fold it forward. Like I said, about 1/4 of an inch or no more than 1/2 an inch. Then get your other end. And this is going to be kind of in the way a little bit. But you're going to center the elastic in the center of that. I'm trying to get my hands out of the way so you can see. And then you're going to fold one edge over. And I'm doing it this, let's see, I have to look. Is it exactly the same as the other one? Yeah, it is. Okay. And then you fold the other edge over. Like so. Until it's folded over like that. And now we're going to sew that in place. So we'll move back over here. Make sure the thread is out of the way. And then I'll lift the foot up and put it all the way down. Be careful about that. Make sure you do that. And it's not moving forward very much, but I'm kind of manually doing this to get it going, and then I'm going to back it up. Oop, I was trying to do it that way and it doesn't want to move, so I'm going to have to nudge it forward and see if I can get it to go. Still didn't want to go forward. Alright, now it's good. One more, and then I'm going to back up. Alright, so I'm going to move over here because I'm going to take it off the machine. Slide it here and cut it loose. I'll move it some more so we can see. And then that's it, where I'm just going to cut off the excess threads. This one was just a very simple project I wanted to do tonight. Next week it'll take a lot longer to do the mittens, but this is just something simple to kind of get us back to sewing again after taking a break from the holidays. So as you can see, you know, your edges are just, you have the edges sewn so you don't have the fraying so much, and you'll probably have to go back and kind of pull on the fabric that's fraying a little bit and just trim it. Most of it will stop fraying because of the way that you sewed the edges. The flannel doesn't like to fold over as well as the cotton, so you'll have a little less trouble if you use the cotton fabric. But you can wear it folded just like that, or you can actually, if you didn't do like me, if you didn't want that to show, if you did a coordinating color, that won't show like mine. But you might want it to. Like this one is all white, so you can't really see that. But I did the black because I had some black in the actual fabric. But, I mean, you may want that too. If I'd done it all that way, it probably would have looked better. Alright, and then I will show you, do I have a picture of the mittens? Let's see. So you can see what we'll be making next week. Let me see here. I don't know if this actually has a picture. This is the pattern for it. And it's very basic mittens. There's, of course, it's not, well, I guess this kind of shows you it's black and white, but it's not real great. But that's the basic mittens. And it's going to actually have a lining on the inside. And that will be optional if you want to do lining in the mittens. And it's going to have elastic around the wrist area too, which I like. And it's a very basic pattern, and it was free. I found it online on this fleecefun.com website. And she had different sizes of mittens. I downloaded the size for a woman, adult woman. And there's only like 3 pieces to the mitten. But you do have to cut several of the pattern pieces out. You have to, for each hand, you'll have to cut 2 different ones for each, because if you want the lining, the warm lining. And for that one, if you want to follow along next week, call tomorrow at the library and tell them that you want to sign up for free supplies for this. And we will provide you some supplies, and if you don't want to do that, you can just make sure you have 3/4 fleece for mittens and lining. Let's see, she used a different cloth in the lining. And then you'll need thread, of course. You'll need the pattern, so you can just contact me. I can tell you how to either get to the website to get the pattern, or I can email the pattern to you. I can download it and email it to you, or I could print it off for you and you could come pick it up at the library. And you'll also need some elastic. It says a 0.25 inch of elastic. I think we've got some of that because we've needed similar for the mask that we were making. And that's all you're going to need to do that one. I saw another pattern for some gloves, winter gloves, but this one, I know it didn't have the fingers, but that pattern, when I looked at it, it's a lot more involved than this one. And I wanted to kind of keep simple because, you know, when you're learning how to sew, you don't want to take on really difficult projects in the beginning because it can be a little frustrating if you have problems. I think this one will take a little while to do, but I think it won't be too hard to show you guys. Okay, I guess I'll switch the camera back over. And that's it for tonight. So I'll see y'all again next week at 7 o'clock. And like I said, the mittens will definitely take longer than this project we did tonight. I would roughly say it will take about an hour at least. And we'll only be doing one mitten because all you'll have to do is turn around and do the exact same thing to make the other mitten. You'll just have to do it in reverse. And I'll explain to you how to do that. So I'll see y'all next time. And like I said, call the library tomorrow if you want to sign up for supplies for the next week's project. It will be a sewing project. And if you don't know our number, it's 501-457-5038. And just tell them you want to sign up for the sewing class, the Crafting with Opal sewing class. All right, bye-bye. See you next time.